How is the? Can I just ask, how was the funeral?
It was, as far as funerals go, I mean, it was great because, everybody loved this man. You know?
Yeah.
Um, so many people loved him. His family spoke. Suzanne even spoke. She said, it's not traditional for the spouse to speak, but I'm talking anyway. So it was great. Lots of marriage stories. And you know that the chapel is going to be named in his honor. Did you know that?
Really? No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
It's great. It's good. So yeah, people have stepped up to make that happen, and it's very fitting. So yeah,
Wonderful.
and of course I saw your mom there. So uh new the generations pass, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Yeah.
These bodies are mortal.
Yeah.
They do not last forever. I mean, that's part of what we're learning and what we're teaching is how do you connect with your own immortality, given that this is all going to fall away, you know. So one way or another, I think that's all there is to talk about. You know?
Right.
I mean, I always get there. I know people talk about calming the mind, and that's fine. I can talk about calming the mind. But I think what's most important is how do we live in such a way that we are as fully this physical person, but also fully connected to our bigger essence, our true our true nature in another sense. That, this isn't all there is, this body. And, it's said both traditionally that when you become a human being, you take a high birth because it's only through a human body or as a human being that we can realize our highest potential. So in a way to think of that as a vehicle, and it's also kind of in the way. It's very distracting to be embodied. But where's the fun? If you're not embodied, you're just, who are we? What are we? We're just pure consciousness. I think it got bored. I think that's why it, with a capital I. One of my friends said, don't refer to God as it. It's like, well, capitalize it. Yeah. I think that principle, whatever you want to call that, needed company, needed to emanate, needed to, or wanted to, or just naturally pulsated into creation. So, given that, if that, whatever that is, pulsated into form, into creation, but is imbued in everything that is. I mean, if that's all there is, that's all there is. If all there is pure light, pure consciousness, pure being, pure bliss, pure existence, then everything emanated from that still retains that enlightenment, that light. So we do too. And to me, that's the purpose of the practice. It's what leads us back inside who we are. And that life is often challenging to do this, but that it's about finding a way to more and more and more balance those realities. The reality of our limitation, and our ego, and our health and our relationships, all of that stuff, with this eternal and immortal and infinite and uplifted self that we're walking around with. And for most of us, we don't know that we are, for most of our lives, for a lot of our lives, until something happens. And, so for you, something happened. You were in pain. Someone gave you something to help you with your pain. And it turned out that that led you to a deeper part of yourself. People feel lost. People feel anxious. People feel stressed. Sometimes people come to meditate because they know there's something more. They're seeking it. But in my experience, most of the people that have shown up in my classes, my workshops, and the events that I've led and been part of, most of them come for these more discreet reasons. They lost their job. They got divorced. They have a challenging diagnosis. Life feels like too much and they want a little help. So they come for a little help, to calm down, to feel less anxious, to feel less stressed, to feel less lost. And often that's what happens. They feel calmer. Often, almost always, people who stay with it have some experience of that. And often when people stick around because it's helping them in their lives, they start to experience a deeper truth. And I've had people say to me at the end of a class, people have been sitting with me for a long time, it seems. And they go, oh my God, I just got it. I just got why we do this. Yes, I've been feeling better. Now it's not 100%. I would say it's not going to be 100% for most of us ever. But is it better? I said, yeah, it's better. But all of a sudden I got that it's not enough to feel less scared. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel uplifted, even when things are hard. Things will be hard because we're human. And we're also divine. So to be able to connect with them. So to me, that's why we meditate. And yes, I understand that people who may watch this, or people who may come to classes, or people who may read books or listen to podcasts, that's not what they're looking for, often because they don't know that they could look for it. But then they start to experience it. They start to experience this strength, this light that maybe they felt a few times here and there. But often not before they sign up for a meditation class or before they show up. Often it's like, why are you here? Well, life is hard. Yeah. So how do we connect? How do we sustain that? That to me is what this is all about. And when I started teaching in less specifically spiritual environments, I was a little nervous about saying we're divine because I thought people would go, no, we're not. And they do sometimes, so that's fine. But at some point I realized that people don't have to buy into my language, and people don't have to have the same direct experience that I have. But it's important to offer people the truth. And the truth is that wherever we are on the continuum, we can aspire. We can aspire to be greater, to be happier, to be more uplifted. There's this 10% happier thing, and I'm fine with that. But what about 1,000,000%? Can we go for that? If 10% gets you in the door, great. But don't we want more? Don't we want as much as we can have of that joy? In the context of life not being easy all the time. And it's an issue, I think, that we don't want to sort of put a happy face where it doesn't belong in terms of what's happening in people's lives. That's dismissive. But to be able to start with where we are and to be able to find that experience, that strength, that wisdom, even that joy in the context of what is going on in our lives. So Lao Tzu, by this point, everybody knows, it's one of my favorites. He says, rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. And we could all come up with a big list of all the things that are lacking for us. World peace, money, friends, health, satisfying work. I don't mean each of us individually, collectively. We could make we could make very, very, very long lists of all the things that feel like they're lacking. But can we experience that place of abundance? Can we experience that fullness? I once taught a class talking about nothing. So it's a big spiritual principle. Some call it the void, or nothingness. Infiniteness, the other sort of side of the coin, is in Hebrew, it's called ayin, like nada, nothing.
Well, God, his name is Ein Sof, so I mean, like
right. Right. So if the perfection is Ein Sof, and what is Ein Sof? And it's so interesting. It's very similar to English, where we say infinite, like not finite. Like we can't describe that expansiveness except to say what it isn't. So once we say ayin, so I was teaching that, and I said, see if you can have that experience of that nothingness, that stillness within yourself. And someone raised a hand and said that a lot of people feel marginalized, and they feel like they learn to accept that or fight with that. And what they really want to do is not feel nothing. What they want to feel is something. And I said, well, if you understand it, it's fullness, and a full nothingness, an expandedness, a spaciousness. Can you connect with that? So, the mind will say, no. I don't get it. I'm not going there. So you have Ein Sof, which is infinite. And whether another description of that or another side of that coin is nothing. And Lao Tzu says, so, nothing is missing.
So can I just jump in real quick? I've in the last 2 months, I've had 2 experiences where I felt that I have no end. Like I was just existing in space, and it was there were states, so they lasted, one lasted like 2 weeks and one lasted like maybe a week. But like, I know that that's a potential to get to now, where you're just constantly like almost floating through space and time. I mean, it's just like your existence is because you are the molecules that make up your body. But it was absolutely, the first time it happened, it was just absolutely like, whoa, this is different, right? Because it's like you have this awareness of self, this very strong awareness of self, and then also at the same time there was like this interaction with this world that I live in that didn't necessarily, I wasn't clashing against it, I just was with it, right? You know, it's like a very amazing experience. I don't want to over, you know, dramatize and say but I was everything. I was with everything. That's how it felt.
Right. That's the experience that we're looking for to sustain in our lives. So first you have to have that direct experience. You know, I was teaching a class for years and years with somebody, and at the end of one of the classes, the person said to me, "Oh, it's about direct experience." And I thought, have I not been teaching this right? Like, how do people not understand that? And I understand it's because, you know, we're programmed to think about what's happening. And when you have that kind of awakening or that kind of epiphany, like what you had, and now more than once, it's like once you have, and you go, oh my gosh, I could live more like this.
It was
Once
wild.
it's possible,
Far out.
once you're on the other side of that door, you know, we're on this door and we go, well, it'd be nice if that happened, but you know, I get a little calmer, you know, I feel a little better. And then you have this experience where you feel connected to the universe and you're in your life at the same time. And to me, when I had that experience the first time, which was a long time ago now, I've had it many times since, and in some ways, it's not even sort of a discrete experience anymore. It's ongoing, not necessarily that intensive, but then I can, you know, sort of shift into that pretty much. I would say anytime, although sometimes easier than other times. But once you're on that side of the door, you can go, now I understand why I'm doing this. Now I understand who I am. Yeah, I'm me in my life, and I'm in my life, and I'm doing the things I have to do in my life. At the very same time, I'm experiencing these other dimensions that are liberating and enlivening, awakening, and amazing, and that you have the awareness to be in all these places at the same time. And to me, that's the gift. It's like in the moment. You're going,
Right. I wasn't up here. I wasn't up here. I was really rank here. Yeah.
Right. But you're having the awareness that you're right here, fully in all these dimensions. That to me is why we do these practices, is to be able to have that experience. And then once we have it, to learn, practice, and aspire to sustain that experience as much as we can. So, yeah, I think it's great. It's amazing. It's amazing. And to me, not surprising, but still amazing.
Is it possible to sustain those experiences for long amounts of time? I mean, you know, when I first got into that space, there was a bunch of stuff that had happened over I took a training course, I did this, I did that. All of a sudden I got into it, and I was meditating, and it just snapped into it. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, this is different, right? And then the amazing part about it was it lasted maybe a week, right? Which was cool. And then I had this momentary minute of where I was thinking about, I missed that feeling, right? It was like chasing it, right? So I tried to replicate everything I did. And then that was like 2 days. And then I realized, you know, that's stupid because states constantly change. So understanding that states constantly change, knowing that states constantly change, that the next state will not be the last state. It will be a different state, right? So if I'm chasing the last state, then I'm never going to get there, because what I'm actually working towards is something else. And then it happened, and it was like this washover moment. And somebody even commented, they're like, wow, you're so here. And they said, you're so beautiful and here. And I go, I don't, and then that lasted minimal. There was something that showed up, but I was no longer chasing the past state. I was looking towards the next, I was just working towards whatever the next one was. So is it?
Right. So that's why I like the word aspire. It's like we're open to, we're intending for, in some way we're reaching toward that experience. In some ways, they're all the same state. They are. Like, what else could they be? But our perception of them, given our conditions at any given moment, is that they're different. And that's fine. This is higher. That was a 95, and this is a 98, or, however over our mind and our senses and our egos judge things, great things. It's all the same thing. But to be able to aspire to sustain it more, one of the things that we can do is, rather than chasing that state that we had, or that experience, is to just recall it. Because if you recall it, it's accessible to you. And in this moment, it might feel different. I think that's what you're saying, sort of talking about them as different states, that it feels different. And you can recall, oh, I was crossing the street, and all of a sudden, I had this experience, or I woke up in the morning and I thought, as you said, this was different. What's this? So we can do that. We can recall it. And sustaining it also has to do with what we do when we're not feeling it. So let's say right now, not the case for me, but let's say right now, I'm coming out of having had an experience like that recently or not so recently, and I'm thinking about all the things that bother me, that provoke me, that anger me, that scare me. And as I notice that I'm doing that, I go, wait a minute, can I shift back into that state right this second? And sometimes you can just do that through pure intention. Sometimes you might need something. You might need a vehicle. It's like you can walk there, or you can get in the vehicle. You can shift there, you can lie there, or you can have a mantra, or you can have an image, or you can take the help of your own breath. Often, the pure intention will do it. It's like, oh, at this moment, like, yeah, I'm dealing with all this stuff, but I don't like the way I'm dealing with it because I've kind of lost my state. I'm like unattached. I'm disconnected. So how do we reconnect? It's that standard thing. I'm sure I've said it to you before, when people ask me why they should meditate. And of course, I don't say anybody should do anything. But, why do you advocate meditation? And I'll say, probably because I'm Jewish, answer with a question. You ask me a question, I'll give you a question. Do you charge your phone? And people always say, yeah, I charge my phone. I say, well, charge yourself. You're charging your phone, you're plugging your phone or other devices into a source of power. So connect yourself with your source of power. It just so happens that your source of power is in you. It's not in the wall. It's not in a search for something. It's not in a battery. It's in you. So how do you do that? Any of these ways, through attention, through meditation. And meditation, we know you can widen into meditation through attention or through an image, through a movement, through a sound, through a memory, which is another kind of image. So I think it's important to understand, and in my experience, people start to understand this once they've been meditating for a while. They start to understand that it's not recreational. It's not about, when I get up from this meditation, I'm going to feel better. What people start to understand is, oh, I can actually do this in my life without closing my eyes and sitting on a mat. I can actually be aware of what's going on within me, and I can choose in the moment to shift back in to this state. And, I'm going to contradict what I was about to say before I say it. So I'll say both things. So one thing is, so I was about to say, but if you're performing brain surgery, you want to be focused on that on one hand. But on the other hand, we understand that there's something that we call the zone. That when you're completely immersed in an activity, whether it's playing basketball or anything else, that there's a flow that starts there. And you're actually in that state that you were describing. You're in that expanded state. And you're also fully engaged in the activity that you're doing, both at the same time. People experience that all the time, actually. Like the more immersed you are in what you're doing, the more expanded you feel, and the more natural it feels, and the more it unfolds in an organic way. Like we all know that, whatever it is that you're doing. So people have that experience in life, in nature. And so that's another way for people to connect. When you're playing basketball, or when you're building something, or when you're cooking or gardening, when you just feel like everything's perfect and you're completely connected, but at the same time you're completely alive. That's what we get from meditation. And don't you want to be able to sustain that when you're not playing basketball, or you're not building something, or you're not gardening, or you're not cooking? It's not the activity. It's not the sunset that puts that into us. It's our presence that allows us to experience what's already there within us. And that's what you're describing. So, and people, I love that people are noticing that. They're so present. They're so beautiful. We glow. We do. But people do that. People go, what are you doing? What are you doing? You look so different. You must have shaved your mustache. Or you must have lost weight. Or you must be working out. And it could be any of those things. But it's not those things. It's not, I shaved my mustache 30 years ago. It's not that.
I can't imagine you with a mustache, actually, Sheldon.
I'll find my wedding pictures. Yeah. So, but that's what happens. People start to notice that. And it's like, it's nice that it's accessible to people. Not always. But that whole thing that Lao Tzu is saying, and all the great beings are saying, is that when we're present, we have the capacity to move beyond our limitations, our limited experience. And there's so many I haven't shown that I sort of carry around with, my touchstones. Thoreau said, launch yourself on every wave. You must live in the present. Launch yourself on every wave. Like, how beautiful is that? Like, you can connect with that. Live in the present. Launch yourself on every wave. And let's just says, when I let go of what I become what I may be. So it's not that we're sort of letting go of or getting rid of who we are, getting rid of our limited perception, our limited identification of who we are. And then we become greater. Still us. But it's more us. So that's why we do this. And I think when you have an experience or experiences like that, I think of them as signposts on the road. This is a path. And every now and then we have one of those signs. Sometimes people have these experiences in meditation. They hear celestial sounds, or they see lights, different colors. There's a little tiny image that sometimes people get in meditation. It's called the blue pearl. It's blue, it's tiny, it's round, and it's understood that it's like up here somewhere. And as people say, I saw this blue dot in meditation. People with no history of studying any of this stuff, people will say, I'm seeing lights. I'll say, well, what do you say? It's nice people see all kinds of colors, and that's all fine. It's nice people will say, well, I saw this little blue dot. And it was like right in front of me. I saw this little blue dot. And I thought, do I have cataracts? But no, I don't think so. So the blue pearl is understood to be this sort of condensed form of our expanded consciousness that expands itself into this luminous sphere. And my own experience of that when I've seen it is it's a sign that I'm on the right path. It's like when you're driving on the highway, you go, oh, this is exit 23. I thought I was supposed to turn at 18. Like, where is that? Maybe I need to circle around. So it's the same thing. It's like, no, I'm going the right way. I'm going the right way.
Sheldon, I don't mean to be rude. I don't have the unlimited Zoom right now, but I'm going to get it for next meeting. So we have like maybe 2 or 3 minutes left today.
Okay. And next time, let me know because I paid for upgrade.
Oh, you already have it?
Yeah. So
okay.
I can do that. But anything else you want to know? You want to meditate for a moment?
Yeah, let's do. We have a couple minutes, so yeah.
Okay. So
3 minutes.
Just to be with what is at this moment, to be with the breath, to notice that we are in fact breathing at this moment, and that what else do we have with us? We have our space, we have our body, we have whatever's going on around us. We have sounds. My air conditioner over there. I've got sirens out on the street. They're part of my experience. We have the experiences that we share. They're available to us right now at this moment. So to be as fully in this moment as we can be. and knowing that we can always reconnect. We can always reconnect. Because that essence doesn't go anywhere. We can always reconnect. Any given moment, no matter what's going on. So let's do that now. Let's just be with what it's right now. Rejoice the way things are. And connecting with the breath and carrying that experience, that lights with us throughout the day.
You always lose, man.
I think I gain you.
Right. I'll see you next time. Let's say I'll catch you later. Yeah.
All right, great. Take care.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you.